Welcome back, ladies. Today, we're going to be talking about difficult family communication styles because we're heading into the holidays and we need to know how to deal with some people.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And today we might shine a light on ourselves.
I mean, I think that we're perfect, but I guess we'll find out. And I have a feeling I'm about to get psychoanalyzed and I'm ready for it.
Are you today's case study?
I like to be the case study.
I am too. Let's get into it. Wow. What a week,
It's been a week.
right?
Actually, it's been exciting.
It's been a good week.
Yeah.
Well, you had an exciting week.
I have
Mm-hmm.
this past year. Well, it's been COVID, so I haven't been dating really or talking to anyone.
Yeah.
I broke up with my boyfriend. We were long distance. He was in Florida. I was in Vegas. And we dated for like a year, a little over a year, but things weren't working out. And we rekindled. Is that a good way to word it?
Rekindle.
We rekindled.
That was a cute way.
I went to Florida to visit him 3 weeks ago, and then he just came out this past weekend. I had the best time.
I'm so happy for you because, well, let's just make it clear. They didn't break up because of long distance, because I know a lot of people think that you can't have a long distance relationship. Like it's not possible. That wasn't the problem.
It was not. Sorry if you're watching this. He just could never tell me that he loved me. And he had never really told anyone that he's dated that he loved them. And for me, that was just going to be a deal breaker no matter what.
Right.
And I think the thing with distance, I've never really had a problem with long distance, but when you are long distance, communication is that much more important.
For sure.
Because you need to be vocalizing how much you care about somebody because it's only through text and phone.
Yes.
And that was a struggle. But we're working on it. So we'll see what happens.
No, he's such a good guy. And I think you guys, vibe in so many different aspects of your relationship. And I think that was just something that was really, not that he never showed you that he cared or loved you, because he does. Good. But for Chrissy, it was something that's really important, like being emotionally open. His actions spoke, but it's not enough,
Well, and when someone, because he's the most cuddly, most affectionate person, but when you are long distance, those things can't translate.
Right.
Because you can't physically be with someone. So then the emphasis is on the other aspects.
Yes. And I think that's really important.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to dive into that, I know a lot of ladies would love to talk about
I would love
long-distance
to talk about
relationships.
it.
Yes, I know we did a few episodes or an episode and have some we have some resources on theladiescoach.com about that. But that might be something to talk about now that you're
I'm excited.
back into it. Well, that's an exciting week because you had fun. You went.
I had going to nice dinners, just, I don't even know, hanging out with someone, doing dirty things.
Just naughty things.
And how gross or graphic can I be on this podcast?
Yeah, you can be as graphic as you want. We're all adults. And if you do have kids, go ahead and put some headphones on.
I also forgot. I said this to you too. I came in Monday and I was like, I forgot what it's like to be intimate with someone and you're comfortable with them.
Yes.
And it just feels natural and you feel open. You're open to anything. And it's just like a different level of connection.
Yeah.
And sex is just so much better.
Sex is way better when you feel good about who you're doing it with.
And we're both weirdos and we're comfortable being weirdos together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's when you have the best connection. You need to feel good. We talk about it being comfortable in your body and really just having that connection with that person if that's something that is important to you. And I remember you came in, you're just like glowing coming in. You're like, yeah, I had a good night, girl. And you deserve it because you haven't done anything this whole year.
No.
It's been a crazy year. You weren't able to see your family for most of the year, and dating was was off the table. And when things started opening up and you did date.
That's another story.
That's another story for another time, girls. And we will get into it. Trust me.
Oh no. Okay. What's going on with you?
I've been sleep training.
What is sleep training for people that don't know?
Well, a lot of people get it. We have a little 6-month-old. A lot of people get confused with sleep training. Sleep training is just helping your baby, get on a schedule, a little routine, and help them sleep better. So before 4 months, it's too early for them to sleep train.
Yeah.
Because they're just, they're constantly feeding and they need they love and comfort, and they're just too young. So anyways, we started him right at 6 months. And I think a lot of people associate, it's something we didn't want to do was a cry it out method. That was just not something that fits us. That's what we thought. Like we were like, that's not something that fits us, just because I couldn't imagine my baby crying.
With cry it out, do you just leave them for an extended period? How long do you leave them alone?
I don't know much about that method.
Yeah.
And I know it helps. It's worked for a lot of people. What we had to do was find someone who understood our needs as parents and like what we wanted to, accomplish and our parenting styles and like what we're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And she created a plan. So, I mean, it's really hard to sleep train a baby without them crying because it's new. And our baby was used to being rocked to sleep for his naps. He was spoiled.
Then you leave him in the crib. He's like, what's happening?
He's like, wait, what? This is
Are we playing? Are we playing?
I'm not being rocked right now. So the last 2 weeks have been crazy and emotional. We were doing more of like check and console, which is like you can go in there every 2 minutes and just you're okay, and be lovey-dovey with them. And even then, it's just really hard. So the first few nights, I cried.
Aww.
I was it just pulls at my heartstrings. But now, and I read a lot of things on it and science either way. Whether it's bad for babies to cry for extended periods of time. Obviously, we didn't like that. Or if it's, if it doesn't do much to them. I don't know. Like it's something that, you just have to kind of make the choice on your own and find what works for you. But it's been kind of stressful the last 2 weeks. It's been a process, but now
you're free.
He sleeps and he prefers like at night when we're, just like cuddling him, feeding him, and he's ready to go to bed. He's like, okay, he's squirming, like put me in my bed. He's ready to sleep, goes down. Me and Andrew have our nights now.
Oh,
we get to watch a show. Like,
ooh, what are you watching? Or what have you watched?
First of all, Queen's Gambit.
I want to see it so bad.
You guys are watching this a few weeks later, but Queen's Gambit was an amazing show. We binge watched it because we were so happy that we were actually getting like our time back. Such a phenomenal show. Like you haven't seen it?
No, I like to save shows to watch on Netflix when I'm flying. Because then I get to binge it without any distractions. That's like my favorite.
Yeah.
So that's my plan.
Okay. Well, you're definitely going to want to binge.
I'm so excited.
Just everything about the show was done so well. So that's what we just finished that. So we're looking for a show. Do you recommend anything?
There's a show on HBO I want to watch that's Nicole Kidman.
What?
Hugh Grant.
What?
On HBO. It just came out.
Really?
Yes.
What is it? Do you remember?
I forget.
Okay.
I can look it up so I can tell people.
Okay. Yes. Please let us know because that's what I'm looking for a good show, guys.
And I love
Hugh
Grant.
Show. Yes. He's so amazing. If you listen to him on podcasts too.
Oh, really?
He's so inspirational.
I would not
and
picture him being inspirational.
I'm all about habit hacking because I love hearing other people's rituals and habits. And his is he like primes himself for success every day.
Really?
So it's really, 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 really good. She's looking for the show right now.
Sorry.
Other than that, so sleep training, we get our nights back. I think that's about it.
That's exciting though.
Yeah, we're getting ready for holidays.
I know the lady that you guys used is incredible.
Yes.
Does she take people everywhere?
I believe so, and I'll link her.
Does she have an Instagram?
She does.
Okay.
It's yes, her name is Carolyn Harvey. I will link all of her stuff in the description below, just if you want. It was virtual, and Andrew and I had to do the sleep training ourselves. I know that some sleep trainers go to your house.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like that would stress me out more.
Probably.
Because I like my space. If I'm in a stressful situation, I kind of like to be doing things on my own.
Right. And a lot of people think it's easier because then you don't have to deal with your baby crying because it could be stressful.
Yeah.
It's almost like with the night nursing. I know a lot of friends, loved their night nurse. I just chose not to go that route just because I wanted to figure out my baby and I wanted to do all of that for him. And just like I wanted that time.
Yeah.
But I also want my sleep. So this 2 weeks, we've really put in the groundwork for him. And yeah, if you guys want to reach out to her, she has different programs and different consultation packages, and I'll put those down below.
And the show that I was talking about is called The Undoing.
The Undoing.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm going to watch
And
tonight.
everybody's raving about it. So I'm really excited.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So we both had an interesting week. Yours was way more glamorous than mine. But what are we talking about today?
Okay. So today we're going to talk about difficult family members, how to deal with different situations, circumstances. And Christal came up with a list of the different types of people. So we'll find out if you resonate with any of them or if people in your family are this type, and then how can we resolve different types of conflict?
Yes. So there's different types of communication styles, I believe, well, not just in our families, but just in our relationships in general. Yeah. And sometimes when you find yourself in one, you might be triggered. You might, especially after this lesson, you might realize why you're so triggered by other people's negative communication styles. We're not talking about communication styles per se in general.
No.
Negative communication styles. And they're on a spectrum. We can find ourselves in all of them, but it's on a spectrum. And so I think it's nice to shine a light, and especially if we're going to be around our families coming up.
Yep.
You need some tools in that toolbox, girl.
So I was trying to think of my life and friends' family, other people and issues that they've dealt with when it comes to family functions, especially around the holidays. Mm-hmm. What would you say? So say I'm going to my family and people have opinions about your life and what you're doing with your life. Uh-huh. How do you deal with that, or what do you do?
Well, that's going to fall into one of the communication styles that we're going to talk about today, which is the judgmental communication style. So just take note of that. I have been told
by numerous people.
By a few.
No. Two.
Few people. Probably more because we didn't ask any more.
We asked two people.
I just stopped at the two. That I have a judgmental communication style.
No way.
That, and here's the thing, and we're going to go into how to handle it and like kind of like the I guess the facets of the judgmental person. Because I personally don't think, I'm coming from a bad place, but it's the experience that my family has of me, so it's almost like you want, a lot of times, and what I say is if you know you're going to be dealing with a judgmental family, you really need to own your shit. Because a lot of times, like for me, I think, I'm in the world of, helping people, create better lives, or like finding ways, to, shining light on their potential. And so I mask my judgmental with the potential. And so, but the experience that my family has of me is she's judging what I do. It's not good enough, and that's not okay. So if you experience a judgment, again, we're going to get deeper with this, but just real quick, if you're going to a family gathering and you know that there's going to be judgy Nancy there, you have to come from a place of owning everything, all your decisions, good or bad, so nobody holds it against you or holds it over your head, and I think that the experience of the judgy person comes from the insecurity that you hold within yourself about certain things. So you take it into social media, so we're on YouTube right now. There's going to be tons of people in the comments dissecting what we look like, how we're talking, just everything about who we are. There's a lot of people who are going to be judging and putting that out there. If I had an insecurity about any one of those things, I'm going to feel attacked. I'm going to feel judged. I'm going to feel like, I'm going to be, adopting that energy. But if you own all of those things, or you don't care about those things, you're not going to feel it. You're not going to hold on to it. Anyone can say anything they want, And it's not something that you hold on to because opinions are opinions.
Is there ever a circumstance where you would, what's like the boundary where you would say, okay, I'm definitely not going to this function?
The boundary would be if you aren't having a good time. Like every time you go there, you feel like you can't even connect with everyone. You know, you feel outcasted. You feel like everyone is out to get you. I mean, like here's the deal though. It's a two-way street. Sometimes you could feel that way, but nobody's really doing that much to you. So we're going to go into that too. But if you feel like you're just not able to connect well and to feel good, you know, and you're not really bringing your best self, you know, to a gathering, there's really no reason to be a part of that because nobody needs that energy either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think if there's just one person though, you just need to know how to deal with them, and we'll talk about that coming up.
Okay, now let's talk about more relationship driven things. Okay. When would you say is the right time that you would introduce someone or you would advise someone to bring a significant other to a family event or to a holiday? Like, I want to bring my boyfriend to Thanksgiving. Do you think there's a right time or?
That's a good question. I think whenever you feel comfortable, you know your family best, you know yourself best. You don't want to put yourself in a situation that you don't feel comfortable with. If you feel like it's too soon for you and you feel like, oh my God, my family's not going to receive this well, you know, not because you're afraid of their judgment, just that you don't also want to put your significant other in a situation where they are awkward and they feel attacked or, you know, your family is giving them the cold shoulder. But if you know your family and you feel comfortable with it and your significant other feels comfortable with it and you know your family is going to shoot the shit and they're fine, like then I think it's whenever you want.
I think for me, I would never, for the first time for them to meet people, I would never do a big family function. I like to do small ones where they get to meet every person kind of individually.
Yeah.
Because that would be my worst nightmare, to just meet a big group of people at one time. Like, yes. I like one-on-one settings.
Yes.
So at first I would be like, okay, you can meet my sister or my parents.
Yeah.
And then if they go to a family function, they can feel more comfortable too, because they already have their ground knowing a couple people.
Yes.
For me personally, that's what I would prefer.
Yes. No, and I think that's because you prefer that because that's what you would want someone to do
exactly.
with you. Because you don't want to just be thrown in to 50 people and you don't know who anyone is and you have to introduce yourself. But as soon as you start making an imprint on smaller groups, because that's what you prefer, then it feels comfortable because you can actually socialize and feel good about the dinner. So I think it's navigate to, you know, the beat of your own drum and seeing, you know, going back to what we talked about last week, which is our values and how we move and groove in the world. It's really, you know, being hyper specific about what feels right to you, what's going to feel right with your significant other, and doing that. Mm-hmm. Some people meet families right away and some people wait.
Do you have any advice for somebody that their family does not like their significant other?
Yes. So it just depends on, I guess, the timeline of your relationship. If you are with someone, you're married, okay, and you have a family with someone and your significant other's family doesn't like you, and this has been years in the making, and the thing that I would suggest is you never dealing with your in-laws as far as if you're talking about conflicts. If you have a relationship with them and everything was good and then something happens, then you deal with the conflict between you two because then you guys are family. But it is up to your significant other to put the boundaries in place between their family and your relationship if those boundaries are being crossed. And what I see too often is, specifically, I'm just talking in general of our ladies because those are the emails that I get. What I see too often is you inserting yourself in your partner's family's drama, or you being the conflict solver, trying to be the conflict solver when it's your partner's job to do that. because they're the ones who can put the hard squash. If your mother-in-law is being disrespectful to you and it's making it hard for you guys to have unity, family unity, and to do family gatherings and all of those things, it is up to your partner to have those hard conversations with his family and her family, and to make that hard boundary and hard stop with them. What makes it difficult, though, is a lot of partners tend to be passive. This is when it gets into a tricky situation with my women, is when their partners tend to be passive and are mama's boys. So they don't know how to stand up for their relationship and the life that they choose to their mom.
Is it that they don't want to let their mom down, or they want to be perfect to their mom?
Many different reasons.
Yeah.
But that will make their partners, their wives, girlfriends feel unsafe.
Yes.
And make them feel like, okay, well, you do obviously, you value someone's opinion over mine or someone's. Now, here's the thing, like, there's two sides to every coin. And we have to be, this is the whole reason we are coming here and talking about negative communication styles isn't just for other people. It's to shine a light on how you're showing up too. Because if there's anything that I know about, my life and the relationships I have with, I have a big family on both sides, is that how I show up also instigates the energy that's coming back. Mm-hmm. So I would say if you're stuck in a hard spot with your in-laws, it is the job of your significant other to create those boundaries. But the problem is that when your partner's not willing to create those boundaries, then it's, what do you do? And unfortunately, you can't be the one who creates that bridge with your in-laws if they're not willing to open up to you. That has to be your partner, and that's something to talk to them about and to see, what it is that you both need to do for your partner to feel comfortable with creating those boundaries.
We actually have a video on that. I wrote it down. 5 ways to deal with in-laws who don't like you.
Yes.
So I'll put that in the show notes if you guys want to check it out.
That was a popular one.
No, a lot. I would say probably a quarter. No, maybe not a quarter, but a lot of the emails that we receive are people dealing with in-laws.
Definitely.
And they have so many issues.
Yes.
So what would you say? So can a relationship work if, say, my mother-in-law hates my guts? Can it work? What do we think?
Yes and no. Yes, if your partner puts the boundaries on that relationship.
Okay.
Your mother-in-law can be crazy as hell. Maybe your mother-in-law is completely, off the hinges and unrealistic and has no boundaries, no self-awareness, just completely crazy. That doesn't mean that it's gonna, it's not gonna get into your relationship or bleed into your relationship if your partner has boundaries with their family. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't or she doesn't, that's going to create some conflict.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you have a crazy in-law, that's okay, as long as it's not bleeding into your relationship.
So it's really not your place to stand up for yourself or bridge that gap, like you said?
Well, it depends. If you're in, if you have an opportunity, which we'll talk about in these lessons here, if you have an opportunity to open up communication and you're seeing kind of their style, and you have, have tools in the toolbox and you feel comfortable with talking to them in a genuine, open-hearted way, there's a lot of opportunity for that. But if it's just in general that they don't like you, they don't want you guys together, then that's up to your significant other to choose, not choose family versus the relationship. It's just to choose the boundaries that he would have or she would have on the relationship.
So the breaking point would be if your partner can't make that decision or try to fix that relationship, it probably won't work.
The breaking point would be when you decide it's the breaking point one.
That's the truth.
The breaking point, to me,
yeah,
I need to have a good relationship with my in-laws. I'm lucky to have and blessed to have healthy, loving in-laws, right? But the breaking point would be if your partner, if you feel attacked, you feel like this isn't going to resolve, but your partner has a huge tie and attachment to his family, you don't really want to come between that. I would never come between anybody in their family. Mm-hmm. And if they're clearly choosing their family at the expense of your sanity, that would be a breaking point.
I remember I was going through emails yesterday, and then I saw one that stood out to me. And one lady, she's been married for 10 years, and her husband will take their kids to go see the grandma, and she won't even be able to go.
Wow.
Which makes me so sad, because now it's ruining that. Like, she can't see her kids experiencing hanging out with their grandmother.
Right.
Because they just can't figure out their relationship.
Right.
And at that point, that's just so far gone to me.
Right. And so here it is. It's like you have to choose, what's worth it in the end, So if you aren't able to, for your own sanity, see your in-laws, but your kids can, and your husband and or partner has made clear boundaries, and you've come to a resolution or a solution that the kids can go see their grandparents, you guys can't get it together. So, this is their only way. And if you're good with it, you're fine with it. That's up to you. You're, again, going back to last week's episode, you're constantly choosing what it is that you want to deal with, and if your values are super family oriented, and then that might be a problem for you. Mm-hmm. If your values are not so much family, and your family's just the people that you are connected to now, it's just a way that you identify and define what family means to you. But if you are a family, if you're talking about like Kardashian style, ride or die type of family, that might be an issue.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because I am more family oriented, but maybe if I wasn't, and my significant other's mother didn't like me, it might not affect me as much. And I would be, and I'm fine if we're not going to hang out for Thanksgiving, or I'm not going to see her every other weekend.
And this is why you and your partner have to have the same core values, because if you value family, or just say you didn't, let's use that example. Yeah. You didn't value family, but your partner does, and you have conflict with his family, that's going to have conflict in your relationship because he is family oriented. So if you both value family, then that helps, because, then both of you are making an effort. But if you both don't,
who cares?
Right. Right. It's up to you.
I think we should go into the different types.
Because
I think it'll take a little while.
Okay.
And it can lead to different topics. I think everything I want to talk to you, it goes back to the different types of people.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I think this will help. If you see me fidgeting, I'm still trying to get it together. We're 3 episodes in, and I'm still trying to figure out how I want this mic.
We weren't made for video.
We totally were.
Oh, just kidding.
I just like looking at you, and I like going back. So it's like my back is like, I'm still trying to figure this out. So sorry if you're commenting.
Or if you want to see us be a hot mess, watch us on video.
No, honestly. So yeah, I will get it together one day.
You're fine.
Okay, so let's go into it. There are 5. I'm sure there's more than 5, but 5 we're going to shine a light on right now. 5 difficult communication styles that I feel like are pretty relevant to most families. I think every family, if I know a family or two, has all of these 5 different communication styles. Some of them have all of them, okay? So the first one is confrontational.
This is my arch nemesis. I'm terrified thinking about it. I'm like, oh no, I'm going to go hide in a cave.
You know those confrontational people who think they value honesty, and they're just telling the truth. They're not afraid to get in your face. They're not afraid to call a thing, which some confronting and being direct is necessary in healthy communication styles. But on the spectrum of super confrontational, this is rooted in anger. So when someone has, a deep-rooted emotion like anger, anything can trigger them. Especially if they see something that's not, later on, I'm going to talk about kind of the justice meter. And I feel like that goes into the judgmental, which we'll talk about. But if they feel like you aren't being real, this is their version of real, or if your communication style is more, avoidant, which we'll talk about, they love to fight things out.
Why?
They love to get heated because they feel like when you do, you're being truthful. You're telling the truth. You're being real with them. So their value is, knowing where they stand with you. But it's often hard for them to see where they stand with you if you don't match their level of intensity, which is not true. Everybody has different communication styles, but to them, they value knowing where they stand and they want that reaction so they can see it.
For me, when it comes to confrontational people, I feel like it's usually mentioning or talking about something that has no relevance and really isn't that important. So I'm like, why are you bringing something up that will potentially hurt somebody's feelings? Like, it's better to not say anything at all.
Right.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, getting a rise out of someone is definitely the theme of a confrontational person. It's also the theme of another communication style. But confrontational people are, they're kind of like volcanoes. They're just ready to erupt at any moment, whether or not it's about you or not. So they could be mad at, someone cut them in line at the grocery store and they come back and you say one little thing and they pop off. The best way to handle a confrontational person is speaking directly and standing your ground, but in a calm manner. You never want to match that level of intensity, even though that's what they're trying to get from you. Because at the same time, we are all responsible for our emotional responses. So the way that you would handle a confrontational person is, Kelly.
Oh, hello.
Your name is Kelly today.
I'm Kelly.
I don't mind talking this out with you. You seem very upset, but I'm not going to entertain you speaking to me like that. So let me know when you're ready to talk. They might pop off some more, but you don't need to. Yeah. Or they might say, okay, we don't need to talk. We don't need to talk. Or yeah, I'll come back at you. But that's not where, you're not responsible for how people react, but you are responsible to stand your ground, to speak directly, and to let people know what you're going to tolerate.
And that type of person might actually respect that more.
Right. Well, because you are letting them know where you stand.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what they're trying to get. They're trying to, all in all, we can go into deep-rooted issues all day long and inner child work and where that anger is rooted from. But at the core of it, it's, a lot of times fear of abandonment. And they're just trying to see where they stand with you. They don't want you to leave this. They want you to match their level of intensity so they feel that connection, even if it's negative. So for you to be direct in a gentle way is still pretty much telling them where I stand and that I see and I hear you, but I'm not going to entertain that because I also need to be respected in this, in this relationship. Any more questions about a confrontational person?
I have a lot, but I need to get into my personality type, and then I can probably relate more.
Okay.
But I have had experience in the last year with a confrontational person, and it taught me a lot about myself. And we can talk about that when we get further down.
This will make sense.
But it's been an experience.
It'll actually start to make sense, as we dive in deeper. The next communication style is passive aggressive. I mean, everybody has a passive aggressive person in their life.
Yeah.
But these, especially in family dynamics, it gets really, really tiring and it eats you up because not only is it the most petty communication style, I think, but you also have so many trigger points with families because you have so many family dynamics and you just have so much history with someone that it just gets will irk and trigger a person.
I feel like passive aggressiveness usually just stems from jealousy and people make comments about things that they're envious of.
A lot of times I call it kind of the air of envy.
Yeah.
It's like someone who has an air of envy around, who you are and what you bring to the table. It can shine a light on a lot of insecurities. it's one of the most petty communication styles because you mask what you're really, it's like you're masking what you really want to say, even though you're not saying anything. You mask what you really want to say in sarcasm, in jokes, in backhanded compliments. And a lot of people will react, and I know, from experience that it's easy to deal with a passive aggressive person by being passive aggressive. And we don't know that we're actually doing that. So by just, ignoring it or acting like you don't hear it is kind of a passive aggressive response. You being shady back or being sarcastic back is matching there. It's almost like you don't want to deal with a confrontational person by being confrontational. Well, you don't want to do passive aggressive comments back to someone. What you want to do is shine a light, be direct in what they're saying. So if they make a comment to you, you want to reflect back what that comment was, because because again, passive aggressive people are really, really scared of confrontation. So they mask it in just like, oh, it's just like a fly-by nip is what I like, not a fly-by, but a drive-by nip is what I call it. Where it's just like, oh, it's just like a little, and then they move on. And so the best way is to let them know that that's not okay. Hey, no. Let's rewind it. What did you just say? So the best, an example that we can use here actually is just say if somebody's like, oh, I saw that you and your boyfriend went to Italy.
Oh my goodness.
I would love to go to Italy one day, but I just don't think I could let somebody pay for my trip.
Okay.
So it's like, oh my God, I saw that you guys went, and you're just like, yeah, I'm getting so excited. Like, yeah, I went to Italy, but I couldn't have someone pay for my trip. So there's that air of envy that just ruined the whole vibe. Right.
Okay, so then how do you?
So what you would say is, I had a fabulous time. Yeah, that was so sweet of him, to take me to Italy. Why would you have an issue if somebody you loved took you on a trip?
No, I would love that.
Right. So it's kind of saying yes because you don't want to diminish. Here's the thing. A lot of times when passive aggressive people say that, a lot of people tend to dim their own lights. So usually if a passive aggressive says, oh, it looks like you had fun in Italy. I would love to go to Italy one day, but I don't think I would have somebody pay for my trip, assuming that like your boyfriend paid for the trip or whatever. Usually someone would respond like, oh yeah, it was fine.
That's what I would do.
Right. Because you want to diminish it, and you also want to end the conversation because you feel uncomfortable and you feel attacked. Because passive aggressiveness, even though they feel like they're masking the confrontation, is an attack. And so what you want to do is just be very direct about what they said and ask them a question. Well, why couldn't you see yourself being treated to a trip like that with someone you love? And let them think about it or ponder it. And, of course, they're going to be, it's going to shock them because they've never had someone take what they said and turn it around on them, because they think that they're just going to do that drive-by nip and that's going to be it. But, as we are adulting and as we are trying to, come in and to communicate more effectively and be very direct, but in a very loving way, we really do need to up our communication style and very much be direct I just said it in a loving way, but I would turn it around on them.
Can people, if you have a history where somebody's always passive aggressive to you and like every interaction that you've had that you can even remember has always been that way?
Yeah.
What could I do to shift the situation? Which I guess that's a great example because I've never done anything like that.
Yeah.
I have an example.
Okay.
I don't know if I should say it, but I'm going to say it.
Okay.
I have a person who I've dealt with for a long time. And I don't know if there has been a jealousy aspect to it, but it's also a family dynamic. So I am not sure. But it was last year and we had an encounter together and everybody's together. I'm trying to have a good time and make I'm trying in my mind because I know that I take things personally.
Right.
So I'm thinking I'm just going to have a good time, let everything in our past go and just enjoy this time that we have together. But then people start drinking, things start happening. And then I get the nip, like you said.
Yes.
And my automatic reaction is just to run away.
Right.
and cry.
Yeah.
But when I think back on the comment, because it was about my weight, and you're so bony, why would any guy want to date you? Because you're so bony. I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah.
Which in reality, I'm guessing it's that there's a jealousy aspect to weight, or like some trigger about weight.
Or, a lot of people will do that just to make sure that you aren't tooting your own horn.
Okay, like I think I'm the hottest shit on the block.
Which you're not doing, but it's triggering an insecurity of them. So it's making sure that you know where the
like
level that you need to be.
Yeah.
So it's like, when you outshine people, they're going to make sure that you know to dim your light. Like your light should be at this aperture. Do you know what I mean? And when you trigger that insecurity, that's where those drive-by nips are. Okay, you are beautiful, but
yes,
just so you know that you're not all that in a bag of chips.
I don't think I am though.
No, but this is just their insecurity.
Okay.
So when when it's somebody you don't have any history with, it's easier because it's easier to cut ties, or it's easier to just not take it personally because you're just like, okay, well, yeah, actually I had a great time, or actually, yeah, thank you so much. When it's family, you can have all the best intentions in the world, but you have history with them. So there's a lot of points of reference of someone doing the same exact, so that same person who did that to you, there's a lot of points of reference of them doing that in the past. So you have all of this, and even though you're coming in like a Buddha, as soon as they do that again, it triggers all of the times that they've done that before.
Yes.
So the best thing you can do is when you start directly turning it on a passive-aggressive person, it nips it in the bud, not the first time, maybe it takes 2 or 3 times, but it lets them know where you stand and that it's not okay, and that you hear them, you see those comments, and that you're not going to dim your light. So that whole thing about a trip, yes, thank you so much. Like I had a great time, and it was really, really sweet of him to do that for me.
Yeah, and I guess it's why should we have to downplay positive things that are happening for us?
Right, as are blessings.
Yeah.
And I used this example before, but it's, if someone says, your son's so beautiful, what am I going to say? Oh, he's okay.
He's not just okay.
Right? Like, no, of course. Thank you.
He's all right.
He is the most glorious thing I've ever, you're going to up it because it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And you don't want to diminish your blessings. You also you're not trying to go out there and be like, this is what I'm doing. This is the bag that I got. This is where I'm going. No. But if someone's saying that trip seemed fun, yes, it was fun. This is what we did, And if it's a passive aggressive remark, you turn it back and you kind of, you ask them, about their remark.
Is there a point? Because I think the saying, is it blood's thicker than water?
Yeah.
Isn't that the saying?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a point where maybe it's just not even worth it?
Yeah. I mean, again, it goes back to your sanity.
Yeah.
And if you've tried, these communication tactics and you've, tried to have these, because again, we all want to, I would suggest always being the bigger person. I know I get a lot of comments about, oh, so you just want people to walk all over you because when we did that in-laws.
Yeah.
No, it's not about people walking all over you. As you could see, the way that you call people out in a loving way is not having them walk all over you. It's letting them know that, hey, that's not okay. And what you said doesn't make sense. And not letting people get away with it. It's actually the complete opposite of letting people walk all over you. It's letting them know that, hey, I don't think so. I don't, that remark wasn't okay for me. That felt a little harsh, and letting people know your sensitivity levels, and they do if they're family, but they want to continue doing it. But you let them know like, hey, that wasn't really a nice, loving, comment. You just got me excited about you seeing my trip, and then you just slapped me at the end. I don't know if I'm okay with that.
No, and then it doesn't make you want to share anything with them in the future.
Right. And so just giving people an opportunity to let them know where you stand.
Yeah.
And then if it keeps happening, then there's no reason. Again, I'm all about creating environments where you thrive in. If you don't thrive in those environments, then it's probably best that you just don't go put yourself in those environments.
Yeah.
But family is family, and you still have a bunch of people and gatherings and stuff. So just knowing how to deal with it, even just for the night, is all we can ask for.
No, and for a night you can do anything.
Right.
But I think what I've learned, and a lot of it's working for you, so thank you. Yeah. My dad always says that. He's like, you're just an amazing woman because of Christal.
Oh.
I'm like, thanks.
That's such a compliment.
No, so without you, I'd be living on the street. I would be a disaster. So thank you.
A huge disaster.
Like,
when you're the one organizing your life.
I would just be a mess. Mm-hmm. One thing I've learned is just not to take everything so personally. And we don't know what people are going through, why they say the things they say. So I've been trying to just let things roll off my back more.
And that's why we don't want to diminish our blessings. Every single one of us has blessings. There's no need to compare ourselves to others. And when you start really taking note of everything that's working for you, you're going to come from empathy, So if somebody makes a drive-by nip at you, you're going to have more of a sense of empathy for them because you're just like, well, I'm happy, and I would never make a comment like that to someone. If something good was happening in someone's life, you want to celebrate that. And that's why you want to celebrate your own blessings first, and get out of the habit. Because women, we love to dim our lights to fit in a social group, just so that you're not seeming like, oh, everything's working out for me. Sorry for you guys, That's not what you're doing. When you start, really, really appreciating and coming from a place of gratitude for all the things that you have and all the things that you're able to do, that is the energy that more and more people need. And when you're not sorry about those things, that's a level of confidence that nobody's going to fuck with, So eventually, when you come from that sense of that air of confidence, people aren't going to want to mess with you as much.
That's a good point that you brought up, because I was just, when you're talking, I was thinking about all of my closest friends, and I would never be nervous about telling them something amazing that's happened in my life.
No.
Like, none of my friends would be jealous.
No.
Make any type of comment.
No.
I was just thinking about them, like everybody that I'm really close to, that would never happen. But I think people have friends like that.
Yes. And we're going to be talking about friendship breakups soon.
That just made me, that like clicked in my mind.
Yes, because that is just, there's no room for that. Family, it's like.
But if you have to deal with them for some holidays and see them, it's like, meh.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
Okay, what's our next one?
The next one.
Oh, this is.
The next one is the judgmental.
Who's that?
Communication style. I don't know.
Judgmentle.
Well, be careful. I'm judging how you spelled that.
Did I spell it wrong?
No, you did.
Oh.
No, you did.
Like, I have it written down.
I love how she's like, did I spell it? Like, she reverts back. This is just literally solidifying.
See, I'm a case study.
Judgment. Okay. So the judgmental person. This, I've been told that my family feels that I'm a judgy McJudgerson. I feel like it's coming from a good place. But again, what I feel and how people experience me, that's the whole part of relationships that we need to be very aware of. Now, when I was writing this, I already knew what my family was going to say. I said it. I was like, they say I'm judgmental. Then I read it off to Andrew and I read it off to my mom, and they're both like, my mom had to be very clear.
The best.
She's like, you are judgmental.
No, she like wrote it across the sky.
Like, judgmental. With a period at the end.
No, but she said you were positive.
She's like, you're very upbeat and positive.
Upbeat.
And if you weren't judgmental, you'd be perfect. But you are judgmental. Now, again, there is levels to this, right? There's a spectrum to everything that we're talking about. Dealing with a judgmental person, they come from a place of the justice meter. And if you've read my book,
we could link that below too.
We'll link that below. I talk a lot about the justice meter that I've had in my life. And I think it's coming from, now I'm trying to defend myself. Okay. Coming from a hard life and me being able to see people, like relationships are important because I've had to be around a lot of types of personalities and see people and their, what's it called? What am I trying to say? Things that don't align.
I don't know.
Okay. Contradictions.
Oh.
And so my justice meter gets, if things are unfair, if I see things that I feel like don't align or don't make sense, I'm just like, skirt, you know. I also, as my gift is I see people's potential. Mm-hmm. So I can see where you are and I can see where I feel based off your gifts, because I love to see other people's gifts, where I think you could be. And that potential, I've had a hard time in my coaching life in the past how many years of doing TLC, is I've had to check my potential meter, because the potential is where people start to feel like they don't add up, you know? So then they feel that energy that I'm judging the choices that they're making because they're not adding up and they're not matching up to their true potential. And so that is the energy that I've had to check. Of course, with family, it's a little difficult. There was a saying that said, if you think you've mastered, like, if you think you're the most spiritual person, see how you do in a room full of your family members.
That's the truth.
Right? If you think you're Miss or Mr. Buddha.
That was like me. I thought I was Buddha.
Right. Because it's easy to be Buddha in your car or by yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're like, you know what? I just feel like
so zen.
Like nobody can come at me. I'm not going to care. And then you go and you are put in a room full of your families.
And everyone knows your triggers.
Knows your triggers. You have past history with them. You know, you might think you're the most enlightened soul. Okay. But you roll up to a dinner full of 15 of your family members, and we will prove to you that you are not. So that is something, you know, even as someone who helps people with relationships, I am also on the struggle bus. I have to catch myself all the time. So the judgmental thing, now this is, I said, each of these come at a spectrum. So if you're talking about the most judgmental person, because it could get crazy, you know, anything you do, this person wants to come at you. So I'm going to use just a medium to like mild to medium kind of example. So if a family member comes to you and says, Chrissy.
Oh no. Yes.
Already. Chrissy.
It's Kelly, actually. Thank
Kelly.
you
Okay.
so
You know
much.
what? Let's use Kelly.
It's Kelly.
I know you think it's a good idea to quit your job and follow your passion.
Yeah.
But I don't think you're thinking things through.
Well, I really just feel like puppetry is just right up my alley.
Is that?
I've always had, from watching Mr. Rogers when I was little, I've just always had a passion.
Wait, that's amazing.
For puppetry. And I totally respect that. And I'm giving up a job that I really enjoy and I'm paid well. But puppets are just calling me.
Okay, see, she handled that flawlessly. Okay, so a judgmental person coming from a good place. This is a mild to moderate. Like, yeah, I know you're following it. So they could say it in a meaner way, you know? Like,
now I'm going to run away.
So I heard you're quitting your job to follow your passion. Do you know that that's such a millennial thing to do? And you're not really thinking things through. Nobody does. You know, what are you going to do when you can't pay your bills?
Okay, now I would run away.
Right. So when someone, like I said, there is levels to this game, okay? But the goal is to hear them through, because when you own yourself and you own the decisions that you make, even if they're fuck ups, like all of the knucklehead things that you've done, and you own your story, there's nobody that can own it for you. So what you would respond in that way is listen, and again, in a kind-hearted way. Again, you're not there to take it on, because that is their opinion, that is their perception. They don't know what you've done, the research that you've put in, the work that you've put in, or what your bank account looks like.
That's true.
Okay. So what I would say is, you know, I've actually thought about those things. That was something that, you know, I weighed heavily on and weighed out the pros and cons. And in the end, I had to make the right decision for me, and this was it. You know, I obviously know that there's risks to this, and I'm willing to accept it.
That was great.
So with a judgmental person, they can't come back to you because, again, you're meeting them with what they're saying, even though it could be quite aggressive, or they can come from a good place. You know, have you thought about this and have you thought about that? And that's actually, it's not like a bad thing, but if they say it in a mean way, it throws people off.
Or if you're feeling insecure, then you might take it as being judgmental when they're not meaning it to be judgmental.
And that's the thing. That can be an insecurity for someone who just quit their job and is
going to be a puppetry,
counting coins. Yeah. And just making sure that this is the right move for them. So of course it's easy to feel attacked when that's literally something you've been thinking about. But when you own it and you own the whole part, all of that story, you know, you own that, yeah, there are risks. Yes, I have weighed the pros and cons. Yes, there might be a possibility I fall flat on my face, but that's a risk that I'm going to take, you know? And so I appreciate your feedback, but that's something that I've given much thought to.
Another good example, I think, would be, this is probably a common one too, especially people my age who are in my situation.
Ooh.
I think I can think of my friend too. She goes to family dinners for Thanksgiving. There's cousins there.
Yeah.
Why aren't you married? Why are you single? When are you worried about having kids? Like, your clock's ticking.
Right.
And she's like, okay, cousin, like, why is it even your business, first of all?
Yeah.
But actually, so now I'm learning so much today too. My sister decided she doesn't want kids.
Yes.
People, when are you and Ben going to have kids? We're not. She's like, we're not.
Yeah.
That's it. We're not. And that's it.
And the way that the energy that you come, like, that is when you're so certain about what you stand for.
She doesn't care.
Nobody can come at you again.
Exactly.
You know? So it's like, oh, no, we're not.
But
any other questions?
Being shamed though for being single, it's like, okay, I haven't found someone. Thank you for rubbing it in.
Yeah. And sometimes they're not. Maybe they're just curious and they want to know.
Yeah.
But if you have an insecurity about that, you're going to take it as if it's an attack. So we need to understand when it's a place to put your foot down and say, well, no, I gave it some thought and thank you for your concern, but these are the things that I've done for myself in that decision. Or you come like, no, you know, I'm fine being single. Okay.
Yeah, and then nobody can say anything after that.
When you own your story, there's a level of confidence that nobody can mess with. So this is the theme of all of that. So, so there's levels to judgmental people. I fall in that. Whereas with family, again, I get attached to their potential and what I think would be great for them. And, you know, I have an air of just judgment if they don't fall in line. And that's something I've had to work on.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm doing it, you know? So that's...
Oh, you're not aware that you're doing it.
You know, because you think you're coming from a good place.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Until someone's like, well, no, this is my experience of you. And you can't take away someone's experience.
No.
So regardless of where you fall here, if someone says that this is their experience of you, well, then you can't take that away also because there's some truth to it too. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Do you have any more questions about the judgmental?
No, that was good.
Okay. So the next communication style that builds up conflict in family is the sensitive avoidant.
Hi, nice to meet you. My name's Kelly.
I'm Judgy McJudgerson. You're Kelly the avoidant.
Kelly the sensitive avoidant. Do you want to talk to me? I'm going to run away. Thank you. Thank you for coming to dinner.
No, what was beautiful is Chrissy just showed her communication style when I discussed a mild to moderate way of a judgmental person coming at you. It was you can receive it well. But then when I added a little nip to it.
That's what it was. It was your tone of voice. It terrified me. I was about to quit the podcast.
Right. So you have all these millennials trying to quit their job. Like, what are you doing? Like, you know, then it's like, because you feel like it's coming at you strong.
Well, the first way you phrased it was more like a curious tone.
Yeah.
It was like a curious, like, so what's going on? You're quitting your job. What's that about?
Yeah.
The second one was like, why are you quitting your job?
Precisely. But judgmental comes in all different styles.
So it was interesting though that it really was the tone of voice and it was just like a visceral response from me.
You're like, okay, I'm going to run away.
I'm like, thank you.
This is the sensitive avoidant. So do you have this? And again, this is all a spectrum. This is not either Chrissy or myself we're using as examples. But do you have that person in your family where you just haven't talked to in a while and you don't know what you did right? You don't know what happened. Everything, you had a great relationship and then just something happened. And then now when you're around each other, it's awkward. They, barely, say more than hello, and they just kind of avoid you the whole time or ignore you. And that's really hard because you're just like, what is it that I need to do with this person? I don't know. I've had a situation with that in my life, with a family member. I didn't know what happened with us. And I literally did not know. I still don't know to this day. But it was a response of, I'm not going to talk to this person because obviously something affected me and I don't want to, I'm going to avoid this person at all cost. Some sensitive avoidants kind of go on the spectrum of, if they do have if they do have some confrontation to them, it'll go more towards the passive aggressive if they do come back with a confrontation. But most sensitive avoidants will just shut down. So one way, with somebody who is this, and you don't know what you did, and it's a relationship you really want to mend, sensitive avoidants want a personal discussion. They're not trying to, if you go and try to be confrontational with the sensitive avoidant, say, why aren't you talking to me?
Especially in front of a group of people.
Right. What's your problem?
Yeah.
Right? So confrontational people and sensitive avoidant people clash, right? Because sensitive avoidant is like, you're being crazy.
For no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just not going to make me feel open to you to discuss what it is that I want to discuss. And confrontational people are just like, well, why don't you just say what's on your mind and get it over with, you know? And here's the thing, like it's too much for a sensitive avoidant. So if you have a relationship that you want to mend with somebody you feel is more of a sensitive avoidant, reach out to them, privately. Hey, if you're at dinner, hey, Chrissy, do you have a moment to talk?
I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get this,
Yes.
And go to a private place and just say, I would say, so the last year, I just felt like we've been distant. I love you and I don't want us to be distant. And I don't know if I did anything or if something happened, but I'm willing to hear you out and I want to fix it.
Well, I felt like you were judging me last Thanksgiving by questioning my career in puppetry.
Well, I feel like you're incorrect about that because...
But I'm really glad that you wanted to talk.
You quit your job and I had an issue with it.
But I'm really glad you wanted to talk. Wait, okay. I like that you brought up going to a private space because for me, like if I'm going to open up emotionally as a sensitive avoidant,
right,
I need to feel like I'm in a safe space and that the person's open and willing to hear what I have to say too.
For sure.
Where I know it's not just going to be this combative thing. Because I feel like when people are being combative, to me, nobody's actually listening.
No.
They're just saying things.
Right.
So I don't feel like things get accomplished in that state.
Right.
So for me, that's a very good.
And for a sensitive avoidant, when we talk about, again, there's levels to this, but when you're talking to someone who is sensitive, they're usually sensitive to the energy. And a lot of times maybe they took something out of context. Maybe they took what you said or how you came into the room, or maybe they thought that you were giving them a cold shoulder one day and you weren't, and you want to talk. But when they're sensitive, they're not trying to, they're not going to have a confrontation or a discussion in front of people. They're private people most of the time. So in order to really, if you really wanted to mend that relationship, is to speak with them privately so that they feel that you have their best intentions at heart, And if they feel like you're being passive aggressive or you're being confrontational, that's going to be really hard for them. It'll just make it even worse. So if you have somebody in your family where you're just like, I don't know what happened. I have no idea. This person just completely just went cold. Reach out to them for a private discussion. Now, here's the other flip side to it. You have to be ready for whatever it is that they say.
Oh, and be open to maybe you did do something.
You can't just have a private conversation and then get confrontational in the conversation because you didn't like what they said.
I didn't even think about that.
Right? So you have to be willing to hear them out. This, again, relationships are a two-way street. You have to be willing. Listening is the biggest strength of all. And I don't think people do more listening. I think that people are so quick to respond to everything and without giving it any thought, even when you're just having regular conversations with people, allowing people the space to finish and to listen and seeing how that sits with you. And if it is about you, we're always like, okay, our swords are ready, just in case you're going to say something. Like, can we have a private conversation? I really just want to see, feel like, this past year, I felt like we went cold, and I want to know what that is. And if there's anything that I can do to fix that, and then you say,
well, you made a comment about my changing career and I felt like you were judging me and it was in front of a group of people and that was really embarrassing for me.
Oh, I see. No, now that you say that, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was just really interested in what you were doing. And, I come from a level of concern for you, but, I never want you to feel like I'm judging you. You know, that's something that I don't. And I didn't even take an account of everybody around. So I'm really, really sorry about that.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Is there anything else?
No, let's move on.
Yeah. Okay, great.
That's good.
So it's owning up to, again, that your intentions wasn't to hurt her, right? But her experience of you matters. So if her experience of you is what hurt her, you can see it even though you're like, okay, I didn't even think of that. A confrontational person would be like, why would that even bother you? Who cares?
But is it about just relating to what they experienced and appreciating that?
Always relate. I think in relationships, successive relationships is how you mend.
Yeah.
Right? And knowing that everybody has an experience of you. It's not letting like one person be right. Again, it's a compromise. It's not like I'm like, okay, you took that way too personally. Why do I have to say sorry? It takes nothing for me to be like, oh, that hurt your feelings. It takes nothing for me to say sorry about that.
Why is it so hard for people though too?
Because they don't want to feel like they're the ones who hurt someone.
Okay.
Yeah. And they don't think that what they did was wrong or that you shouldn't have made that a big deal. But if she did, and it's not going to hurt you to say sorry about that, then why don't you it's an experience that she has of you. You're not admitting fault. You're just saying, I can see what you're saying. Like, I can see that I didn't even take into account of that, right?
Another thing that I've dealt with, actually like in family and relationships too, probably is people, you're too sensitive.
Right. Well, you don't say that to a sensitive person.
So then I'm like, okay, well, you're discounting every emotion that I've ever had because, well, you're just too sensitive.
Right.
So then it's like nobody will take accountability for the things that they say or do. It's just pointed on, you're just too sensitive.
Right. And that's not going to help the situation. That's not going to mend the situation because even if you were being too sensitive, there's no time to process the event. Mm-hmm. Because when somebody says you're too sensitive, then it just like, there it is. There's no way to process what just happened. You feel even more attacked and there's just nowhere to go with that, So the best thing to do if you think someone is being too sensitive is to go through the process again. Okay, so we were just talking about, I, mentioned that in front of everyone. Why does that bother you?
For me, well, the main thing would be that it would be embarrassing, I think. And it's trying to make me look bad in front of a group of people.
Okay, so this is what you would say to the person who is like, okay,
yeah,
I want to shine a light on, maybe you might be too sensitive, right? So the thing is, okay, what bothered you about that?
That you were trying to paint me out to look bad or less than, and it was embarrassing because it was in a group of people that I truly care about how they think about me.
I see.
That's what it would be.
Okay. So see how she's going through her thought process.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I can see that. I didn't think of that because it's like our family,
yeah,
and I air all of my stuff. So I guess I just didn't even think that would be something that mattered to you, and I'll be a little bit more sensitive to that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think that, again, her seeing that your intention is Because you want to also, if you want to share, like, it wouldn't have mattered to me, there's a way to do that too. Like, okay, this is probably why I said it, you know, because I kind of just air all my grievances in front of everybody, you know, so she kind of understands, like, yeah, you do that.
Or you don't think it's a big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
And so she can kind of understand you, and that, okay, your intentions weren't to hurt me. It's just kind of like something natural that you do. But I think that opening up that discussion and not making someone feel like they are less than because of the way that they're communicating, it's just really standing your ground, but being very clear and opening it up, you know, because we all have different communication styles and we're going to trigger each other. Mm-hmm. So the last one, I'm sure there's more. And if I do miss it and you think there's more in your family, please comment below. This will be fun. And we can maybe there's a part 2 to this. The last one is, it was kind of funny to write.
No, I like, actually, it's like the most lighthearted, I think.
Sometimes.
The instigator.
It's the instigator and the gossiper.
Yep.
This is a real life troll in your family. You know, if you think of like internet trolls, like who start fights and put people against each other, this is kind of like a real life troll. And I have one in my family, probably a couple. And it's funny because people like take it way too seriously. They take what these people have, like they like try to pit, especially politically, like you're going to dinner with family. Oh, no. And there's going to be political fights. This person loves to start that argument, right? This person also can just be a gossiper, right? Have you ever had like a family member or a cousin or an aunt who always wants to air everyone's business to you? And you're just like, what Chrissy just did, that laugh and the, oh God, you know, that is how you deal with an instigator.
And don't let it trigger you.
It's just not a trigger. It's just okay. So somebody's coming to you with dirty laundry. Just assume that they're also spreading yours, right?
100%.
So Aunt Susie comes up to you and is like, did you know what Chrissy was doing?
Ooh, what was she doing?
I don't know. She's out there hoeing herself out this week.
Ooh.
Especially this week.
100% this week.
Right.
Last 100%. Week, maybe not.
The last 9 months, maybe not.
Probably not.
The way you deal with it is just not to take it to heart. Okay, Aunt Susie. Was she? Good for her. She deserves it, right? You don't want to take what they say too seriously, and then they'll move on because they don't want to. They're not going to try to instigate people who don't take them seriously because they love the rise, right? They love to get a rise out of people because it's entertaining for them. So when they don't get it from you, they'll just move on. So I think that's a quicker way of dealing with an instigator and a gossiper. If there is a gossiper that is talking about you and you find out that they're talking about you, that's when you start accessing all of these levels of communication styles. Instigators and gossipers tend to fall into confrontational and passive aggressive, mostly passive aggressive, but confrontational, because if you did confront them, because confrontation is important. Yeah. It's a key to successful relationships, but we want to know how we're doing it and how to do it in the best way. But gossipers, when you do approach them, can tend to me get confrontational or passive aggressive. Like, why? Okay, so what?
I would say passive aggressive for sure.
In my instances, it's confrontational.
I'm thinking.
Yeah. Because confrontational people or gossipers are just the reason why is when you come to them. So I heard, Aunt Susie. Sorry, my nose is running.
No, or they start a fight between two people and then they're like, oh, I didn't do anything. This wasn't anything. I just like peace and love and harmony. Uh-huh. And I didn't do anything. Yeah. You guys are crazy. I'm like, you're the one that literally just started this. We're not even mad at each other.
Depending on the way that they say that, that's a confrontational personality. Yes. Like, you guys are the ones who do, like, you're coming to me, like, I'm just repeating what somebody told me.
Exactly.
I'm just repeating, like, what somebody told me. You're the one who did this. You're the one who. So even when you approach, you have to, going back to your toolbox on how to deal with a conflict. Okay, Aunt Susie, Miss Gossiper Queen. Don't say that. Aunt Susie, okay, I'm just letting you know that I heard that this is what you said and it hurt my feelings. If you want to talk about it more a little bit later when you calm down, I'm all ears, because I do want to make sure that we get this, we get this squared away. But I'm not here for the way you're talking to me right now. Aunt Susie.
Susie.
So really just accessing some of the tools in your toolbox in the way that they handle it. But gossipers, instigators are just, they're kind of like, unless you're like at the end of their, they're the one, like you're the one that they're coming after every time.
Oh.
It gets, it's triggering and it gets hard. But if you just don't give them a rise, they'll move on.
I think though what I found with like the gossipers is they just don't feel like they have anything of significance for themselves. So they're like, I'll just share everyone else's dirty laundry because I have nothing else to talk about. Yep. So it makes them feel important. Or like they have the hot gossip.
For sure. Yeah. They love having like news segments. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, do you subscribe to it or not? Just don't subscribe to it. Or just think it's funny. Like, for me, the instigators in my family, I'm just like, because I'm not on the end of it, because I know how to stand up for myself, and I know how to be like, okay, that's enough. Stop, but it's funny to me. It's just like, okay, here we go. And people fall into it. And it's just like, did you just know that they're just trying to instigate?
No, like they just laid a trap and you fell into the trap.
You fell into the trap. Yep. So those are the 5 negative communication styles that are living within our family and how to deal with it. And if there are more, I know there are more, comment below and we'll discuss them in a future video. We're going to take a question.
Yes. Okay. This is from our email. If you guys have any questions, send us an email to ask@theladiescoach.com. Or if you guys have any topics, just like general topics, that'd be great too.
Yep.
Okay. So here's our question. I need some advice on letting go of anger. I was hurt several years ago by a comment my sister-in-law made about me, and my husband and I took it to heart. Oh, her husband took it to heart too. Mm-hmm. Okay. This has caused several years of arguments between me and my sister-in-law. We are now at a place where our husband's relationship has improved, but we have not. Okay. I have reached out to try and bridge this, but I have been completely ignored. I am not okay with having a relationship with her. Oh, I am now okay, with having a relationship with her, but I am still very angry with her. We have a big family holiday planned for later in the year, and I want to be able to go and enjoy my holiday with my husband's family. I know this is my issue and no one else's, so I would like some advice on how to forgive, and let go of my anger.
I love a good self-awareness moment.
I know.
I'm into that. So knowing that this is my issue, how do I deal with it? That's the first step. I think it's hard to have a relationship with someone who does not see themselves in the demise of that relationship, because it takes 2 people. So even if you think you're right and that people are just assholes or too judgmental or too sensitive or this and that, you need to find yourself in it as well. So I love that self-awareness moment. Where do you think she falls?
She.
In her communication style?
Probably avoidant.
Mm-hmm. So a little sensitive avoidant, I'm reading from this, because if you're dwelling on something, because the thing about sensitive avoidant people, they can hold a grudge. They can hold it. If it's on a level of like taking things personally and, and it seems like that's what she's doing right now. She says she's ready to move on and have the relationship, but she's still holding on to anger, which that's the energy that you're bringing. Your words, your energy speaks louder than words. You've heard that quote before.
Yeah.
So if that's the energy you're bringing, just saying okay, I'm mending this. I've tried to mend this relationship, but you're mending it with holding on to resentment and anger. Well, I'm going to feel that. And I know you're not ready to mend.
So she might be showing up thinking that she's coming in like a Buddha.
Right.
But really she's giving off the energy that she's still upset and still angry. And then the sister-in-law is picking up on that.
The sister-in-law is definitely picking up on that. Or the sister-in-law is, maybe there's a conversation. The sister-in-law is telling her the experience that she has of her. And then she comes back and it becomes, it becomes just an endless cycle of her going back to the drawing board and being like, well, I'm still angry. I'm still like, so even if you think that you're mending something or mending a relationship or you want to talk it out, but you're holding on to an emotion that you're not ready to let go of, that person can feel it. And they know that you're not ready. And they're not going to accept what you trying to be a Buddha or a saint. Just because you say, oh, I want to move on, doesn't make you a saint.
No.
right?
Yeah.
It takes actions. It's really coming with an energy. You know, when Chrissy and I were role playing, her being sensitive and me saying, you know, I really want to know what I did. There's an energy of like openness. Oh, I can see why that affected you. There's no like, okay, but why did that, see the difference?
Yeah.
But why did that affect you? You know, there's that energy of like, what?
Or that's like a judgy tone too.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's like, oh, yeah, I can see. Okay, I guess I didn't take in consideration because of X, Y, and Z.
And no one's feelings are right or wrong, but we are entitled to our feelings.
Right.
And that's.
Yeah. So, you know, and then on the flip side, if Chrissy were to say, well, I feel like you're a judgy person, well, then that's not
No, then
nice
that's an
either.
attack. That's an attack.
Right? You know, you could be, so the thing is how are we showing up? What words are we using? What's our energy with it? And are you really ready to mend this fight? You know, we don't know what it's about, but if you're ready to move on, it obviously isn't significant enough for it to be a lifelong, you know, break in the relationship.
Yeah.
So is it worth holding on to the resentment and anger?
I also wonder, like maybe the sister-in-law hasn't apologized or said she's sorry and this is what she's holding on to and that's what's making her feel angry. We don't know.
Right.
But maybe and she maybe needs to open up a conversation with her from an open place.
But if you're attached to an apology, you're not ready to mend a relationship because you're expecting to be right in the situation and the person to be wrong. And when you come in at a, you know, in a conversation and that person feels like, oh, I'm going to leave here and she's right and I'm wrong. Well, I know I didn't do anything wrong just because her experience of me felt some type of way. We can talk about that. But for you to come in and be like, well, you know, if you know, coming in with the air of like, I need an apology, it's like, okay, because I could have gone both ways with our conversation. In one of them, I said, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even think of that. I could not say sorry at all and say, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Which actually kind of feels the same to me.
Right. So there's not this air of like, oh, I need to apologize, even though I know my intentions were not wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the energy of it and the way that you say it makes all the difference.
So we can't just sit and wait out or hold out for an apology because sometimes you're never going to get an apology from someone.
And is it worth it? Could it be that you guys just talk it out and expand the scope of it so you could see how she experienced you and how you experience her, and then could you move on from that? You know, if you're tied to an apology, that's the first problem right there because you are coming in with an energy that's not going to work.
So how does somebody let go of anger?
Well, first you see, is this situation even worth holding on to?
True.
Is it even a big enough deal? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it something that's like, can I move on from it and be okay with the person I am and have a better relationship with her? You know, It's that compromise that we talked about last week. It's that, you know, is it compromising your values so much for you to move on?
No,
most of the time it's not.
No.
So
especially if it means having a great relationship with your husband's family.
Anger, being tied to anger is just being tied to the need to be right. And so you're not getting what it is that you want from her, you know? And at the end of the day, it sounds like you just want to be right.
Yeah.
So it's going in and again, expanding the scope of the relationship, seeing her experience of you discussing the experience you have with her, and coming from an energy that's, I really want to mend this, right? Hey, you know, for the past year, I've been really angry about what happened to us and this situation that we went through. And then I just realized, I just don't want to be angry anymore. Yeah. I care about you. I know my husband loves you and I want us to have a relationship. And, you know, I'm not here to say who's right or wrong. I know that you probably have an experience of me, which is why it's, you know, we're not talking for so long, but I just want to like nip this in the bud. Like, this is how I felt when this happened, but I'm not angry about it anymore, you know? And, you know, I just hope that there's a way for us to mend, and I will actively, you know, be a part of that mending. If you go in one-sided, like, well, you should do the mending because you hurt my feelings.
Oh, no.
Like, you hurt my feelings. I'm the one that
I'm the victim.
I'm the victim. Well, that's not fair either.
But also, she might not realize that maybe she was doing something that hurt the other girl's feelings.
Right.
Yeah, so it is just opening up communication from an open and vulnerable place.
Yes.
And that's the only way things can get fixed.
100%.
I also wanted to note, we have other really good videos. I went through our whole site and I was trying to find things that would help with this topic. We also have a video, how to deal with difficult family members, which is similar to this, but different. How to deal with family estrangement. So if you haven't been speaking to somebody, how can you handle that?
And that's the level of sensitive avoidant, extreme level, you know, where someone just estranges themselves from the family, you know, or from that person. And that's, you know, and how to deal with that. It could be hard on both sides, you know, so that's a video.
And then we have how to deal with negative people who are addicted to problems.
Addiction is real, especially to problems. I think problems are the biggest addiction on the planet.
What about coffee?
More than
problems.
Coffee. More than coffee. Problems. Although I could use a coffee right now.
I know.
I'm not. I'm going to be good.
I think that's all we got.
Well, that's good. Did that all make sense?
I think so, but...
Yeah, I hope it made sense for you, ladies. And again, if there's any other personality type that you feel like is really, really difficult, please comment below and let us know. And we will take note of it. And we might do another episode of this if you want to dive in. If this video or this session or even audio, if you're listening on iTunes, if this was helpful, if you can please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, all of the things. Let us know what you want to hear in future episodes. And I hope you guys enjoy your holidays with these 5 people. Your family.
Wait, and now maybe I'm curious to know if people after the holidays, if people have an experience and they can actually work through it because of this.
I hope so.
I probably really will.
So. And my family's probably taking notes of what I said with the judgmental person. They're probably going to use it in every interaction with me. So that's fun. Anyways, sending you all so much love. Hope you have a beautiful rest of your week.